Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the starship New Horizons and looked out at the alien world below. The planet was beautiful. Its surface sparkled like a giant jewel in space. Two suns shone down on it, making rainbow colors dance across the crystal cities. "Are you ready for this, Captain?" asked Dr. Lisa Chen. She was the ship's expert on alien life. Her hands shook a little as she checked her equipment one more time. Jake nodded. As ready as anyone can be for humanity's first meeting with an alien empire. Commander Ryan Foster walked up to them. He was in charge of keeping everyone safe. "My men are ready, sir, but I still don't like going down there with so few weapons." "We're here to make friends, not fight," Jake said. "The Zephyrians asked us to come with only small weapons. We have to show them we trust them." 3 months ago, Earth had received a message from deep space. It came from the Zephyrian Empire. The message was simple but amazing. It said that humans were welcome to visit their world and talk about working together. This was what humanity had dreamed of for hundreds of years, but there was a problem. Earth's scientists had found something terrible coming toward their part of the galaxy. They called it the Void Swarm. It was like a giant monster made of darkness that ate entire star systems. Earth needed help to fight it, and the Zephyrians might be their only hope. The shuttle landed softly on a platform made of clear crystal. Jake, Lisa, and Ryan stepped out and looked around in wonder. Everything was made of crystal that seemed to grow like plants. The buildings reached up toward the sky like frozen lightning. Strange music filled the air, but there were no instruments they could see. "The air is safe to breathe," Lisa said, checking her scanner. "Their atmosphere is almost exactly like ours. That's lucky." "Or maybe it's not luck," Ryan said quietly. "Maybe they made it this way for us." Tall figures came walking toward them. The Zephyrians looked like people, but their skin was clear like glass. Light moved through their bodies in slow waves. Their eyes were large and had no color that humans could name. They moved without making any sound. The leader stopped in front of Jake. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes. "Welcome to Zephyr Prime, Captain Morrison. I am Velshar, the Emperor's science master. His Imperial Majesty waits for you in the Royal Palace." Jake tried not to stare at the alien's beautiful, strange appearance. "Thank you for having us. We're honored to be here." They rode in a vehicle that floated above the ground. The city passed by like a dream. Zephyrian people stopped to watch the humans go by. Some of them changed colors as they watched. Lisa whispered that the colors might show how they felt. The Royal Palace was the most beautiful building Jake had ever seen. It was made of crystal that sang when the wind touched it. Gardens full of strange plants surrounded it. Some of the plants glowed with soft light. Inside the palace, they met Emperor Zarthanis. He was taller than the others, and his crystal skin had gold light running through it. His presence made Jake feel small, but not afraid. "Humans," the Emperor said. His voice was deep and musical. "You have traveled far to reach us. We have watched your species for some time. You are young, but you show promise." "Your Majesty," Jake said, bowing like Lisa had taught him. "We come seeking friendship and hoping for an alliance. A great danger threatens both our peoples." The Emperor's crystal skin flickered with different colors. "Yes, we know of the Void Swarm. It has destroyed many worlds in the outer regions. But tell me, why should the Zephyrian Empire risk itself for a species that has barely learned to travel between stars?" Before Jake could answer, another figure entered the room. She was clearly Zephyrian, but different from the others. Her crystal skin was more delicate, and silver light flowed through her like liquid starlight. When she moved, it was like watching a dancer or a poem come to life. "Father," she said to the Emperor, "perhaps we should hear what they have to say before we judge them." The Emperor smiled. "Captain Morrison, Dr. Chen, Commander Foster, this is my daughter, Princess Ariatel. She will be your guide during your stay and the one who speaks for our empire in these talks." Jake found himself staring at the princess. She was the most beautiful being he had ever seen, but it was more than just her looks. There was something about her that made him feel like he had been waiting his whole life to meet her. "Princess, Ariatel looked at Jake with those strange, colorless eyes. For a moment, he felt like she was looking into his soul. Then she smiled, and Jake's heart nearly stopped beating. "Welcome to our world, Captain Morrison," she said. Her voice was like music made of silver bells. "I hope your stay with us will be pleasant and productive." That evening, Princess Ariatel offered to show Jake the palace gardens. Lisa and Ryan stayed behind to study Zephyrian technology with Velshar. Jake walked beside the princess through paths lined with singing crystals and glowing flowers. "Your world is incredible," Jake said. "I've never seen anything so beautiful." "Beauty means different things to different species," Ariatel replied. "What seems beautiful to you might seem ordinary to us. What do you find most beautiful about your own world?" Jake thought for a moment. "Sunsets, I think. The way the light changes colors in the sky. It only lasts a few minutes, but it's worth waiting all day to see." Ariatel stopped walking and looked at him with interest. "You find beauty in temporary things? Sometimes the most beautiful things don't last very long," Jake said. "Maybe that's what makes them special." They walked on in comfortable silence. Jake found himself stealing glances at the princess. She was so different from any human woman, but there was something about her that made him feel connected to her. He wondered if she could ever feel the same way about him. As they reached a quiet part of the garden, Jake looked up at the 2 moons hanging in the alien sky. Without thinking, he whispered to himself, "If only I could wed her." He thought his universal translator was turned off. He thought no one could understand him. But Princess Ariatel turned around quickly, her crystal skin glowing bright with surprise. "Yes, you can," she said in perfect English. Jake stared at her in shock. The words hung in the air between them like a promise that would change both their worlds forever. Jake could not believe what he had heard. Princess Ariatel stood in the moonlight, her crystal skin glowing with soft silver light. She had understood his whispered words and answered them. "I don't understand," Jake said quietly. "How did you hear me?" "My translator was off." Ariatel smiled, but there was sadness in her strange eyes. "We Zephyrians can sense strong emotions, especially when someone is very close to us. Your feelings were so powerful that I could understand your words, without any machine to help." Jake felt his face get warm. He had not meant for her to know his feelings. "Princess, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." "Do not be sorry," she said, stepping closer to him. "I have felt the same way since we first met. There is something about you, Captain Morrison, that calls to my heart." They stood looking at each other in the alien garden. Jake could hardly believe this was happening. He was just a human space captain, and she was a princess of one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. "But how is it possible?" Jake asked. "We're different species. We come from different worlds." Ariatel walked to a crystal bench and sat down. She touched the surface, and suddenly the air above it filled with moving pictures made of light. Jake saw images of ancient Zephyrians and other alien beings standing together. "Long ago, my people created something called the unity bonding," she explained. "It was a special kind of marriage between different species. The law was made to create strong friendships between worlds. When 2 beings from different species join in unity bonding, their peoples must become allies forever." Jake sat down beside her, careful not to sit too close. "When was the last time this happened?" "Over 1,000 years ago," Ariatel said. "The law still exists, but no one has used it for a very long time. Most Zephyrians think it is just an old story now." "What would I have to do?" Jake asked, then quickly added, "I mean, if someone wanted to do this unity bonding." Ariatel's skin flickered with different colors. Jake was starting to learn that this happened when she felt strong emotions. "The human would have to pass the trial of harmony," she said. "It is a process that changes the body and mind so that the human can live in our world and we can truly understand each other." "That sounds dangerous," Jake said. "It is," Ariatel admitted. "The trial has only been tried by 3 non-Zephyrians in all our history. 1 died. 1 went insane. 1 succeeded but was changed so much that his own people no longer recognized him." Jake was quiet for a long time. Finally, he asked, "What do you think I should do?" Before Ariatel could answer, they heard footsteps on the crystal path. Ryan Foster came walking quickly toward them, looking worried. "Captain," Ryan said, "Ambassador Rodriguez wants to see you right away. It's urgent." Jake stood up and looked back at Ariatel. "We'll talk more about this later?" She nodded, her skin glowing softly in the moonlight. "Yes, we will." "Ambassador." Helen Rodriguez was waiting in Jake's quarters on the ship. She was a tough woman who had spent 30 years in Earth's diplomatic service. She did not look happy. "Jake, what the hell are you doing down there?" she demanded. "Following orders, ma'am, building relationships with the Zephyrians." "Building relationships?" Helen's voice got louder. "I've been getting reports that you're getting personally involved with their princess. Is that true?" Jake sat down across from her. He had known this conversation would happen eventually. "Yes, ma'am. Princess Ariatel and I have developed feelings for each other." Helen put her hands on her head like she had a bad headache. "Jake, do you understand what's at stake here? The Void Swarm is getting closer every day. We need the Zephyrians' help to save humanity. We can't let your personal feelings mess this up." "I understand the situation," Jake said. "But this might actually help us. Princess Ariatel told me about something called unity bonding. It's an ancient law that could make our alliance stronger." Helen stared at him. "Unity bonding? What are you talking about?" Jake explained what Ariatel had told him about the ancient law. As he talked, Helen's face got more and more worried. "Jake, you're talking about some kind of alien marriage ceremony that could kill you or drive you crazy. Even if it works, you might not be human anymore when it's over. But if it works, it would guarantee that the Zephyrians would fight beside us against the Void Swarm," Jake said. "And if it doesn't work, humanity loses one of its best starship captains and any chance of an alliance," Helen shot back. The next morning, Jake met with Dr. Lisa Chen in the ship's medical lab. She had been working all night, studying the information the Zephyrians had shared about the trial of harmony. "It's fascinating and terrifying at the same time," Lisa said, showing Jake her computer screen. "The process would change your body at the cellular level. Your bones would become partially crystalline, like theirs. Your nervous system would be rewired to handle their telepathic abilities." "What are the chances I would survive?" Jake asked. Lisa was quiet for a moment. "Based on the data they gave us, about 30%. But Jake, humans are different from the other species that tried this. We're more adaptable. Our survival rate might be higher." "Might be? I can't promise anything," Lisa said honestly. "This is completely new territory for human medicine." That afternoon, Jake attended another meeting with the Zephyrian leadership. The Emperor was there, along with Princess Ariatel and several other high-ranking Zephyrians. Jake noticed that not all of them looked friendly. General Kethral, the leader of the Zephyrian military, spoke first. "Emperor, I must protest again. Allying ourselves with these primitive humans will only make us weaker. We have defended our empire for thousands of years without help from anyone." "The Void Swarm is different from any enemy we have faced before, General," the Emperor replied. "It has already destroyed 12 star systems in the outer regions. We may need allies to survive." "Then let us find allies worthy of us," General Kethral said, looking directly at Jake. "Not these short-lived creatures who have barely learned to travel between worlds." Jake felt angry, but he kept his voice calm. "General, humans may be young compared to your people, but we have survived everything our world could throw at us. We've fought through ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters. We're still here because we never give up." Princess Ariatel stepped forward. "Captain Morrison speaks truly. I have studied human history. Your species has remarkable strength." General Kethral's crystal skin turned dark red. "Princess, with respect, you are being fooled by your emotions. This human has clouded your judgment." The Emperor raised his hand for silence. "Enough. General Kethral, you forget yourself. Captain Morrison, Princess Ariatel has told me of your interest in the unity bonding. This is a serious matter that requires careful thought." "Your Majesty," Jake said, "I am willing to undergo the trial of harmony if it will help both our peoples." Even knowing you might die? The Emperor asked. Jake looked at Princess Ariatel, who was watching him with those beautiful, strange eyes. Yes, Your Majesty. Some things are worth the risk. That evening, Jake walked alone through the ship's corridors. He had a lot to think about. In his quarters, he found a message waiting for him on his personal communicator. It was from Earth. Command. Captain Morrison, the message said. Our deep space sensors show the Void Swarm has accelerated its approach. At current speed, it will reach the outer colonies in 6 months. Whatever you're going to do, do it fast. Humanity is counting on you. Jake turned off the message and looked out his window at the crystal cities of Zephyr Prime. Somewhere down there, Princess Ariatel was probably thinking about the same difficult choice he was facing. He had to decide soon. Would he risk everything for love and the chance to save both their worlds? Or would he play it safe and hope they could find another way to convince the Zephyrians to help? Outside his window, the 2 moons of Zephyr Prime shone down like watching eyes, waiting for his answer. Jake made his decision the next morning. He found Ambassador Rodriguez in the ship's command center, reviewing reports about the approaching Void Swarm. Helen, I'm going to do it, he said simply. She looked up from her computer screen. Jake, we talked about this. It's too dangerous. Everything we do now is dangerous, Jake replied. If I don't try this, the Zephyrians might decide they're better off fighting the Void Swarm alone. Then both our civilizations could fall. Helen stood up and faced him. I'm ordering you not to do this, Captain. Jake took a deep breath. Then I'm respectfully disobeying that order, ma'am. Sometimes a captain has to do what he thinks is right, even when his superiors disagree. Jake, if you do this and it goes wrong, you could die. Or worse, you could lose your mind. Either way, humanity loses one of its best leaders. And if I don't do it, we might lose everything anyway, Jake said. At least this way we have a chance. Helen was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she sighed. I can't stop you, can I? No, ma'am, you can't. Then I want Dr. Chen working with their medical people. If you're going to do this crazy thing, we're going to make sure you have the best possible chance of surviving. 2 hours later, Jake stood in the sacred synthesis chamber deep inside the royal palace. The room was made entirely of crystal that hummed with energy. Strange machines that looked more like living things than technology surrounded a platform in. The center, Dr. Lisa Chen worked alongside Velshar, the Emperor's science master. They had been preparing for 3 days, going over every detail of the trial of harmony process. We've made some changes to the traditional procedure, Lisa explained to Jake. Humans have something the other species that tried this didn't have. Our brains are incredibly adaptable. We think we can use that to improve your chances. Velshar nodded, his crystal skin glowing with what Jake had learned was excitement. Your species is remarkable, Captain. Your neural pathways are much more flexible than ours. This may allow the harmony process to work better than it has before. Princess Ariatel entered the chamber. She wore a simple white robe that made her crystal skin look like moonlight. When she saw Jake, her skin glowed with silver light. Are you certain about this? She asked him quietly. I'm certain about how I feel about you, Jake replied. And I'm certain that our peoples need each other. That's enough. The Emperor arrived with several other high-ranking Zephyrians. General Kethril was with them, his expression dark and angry. Your Majesty, the general said, I protest this madness one final time. If this human dies in the sacred chamber, it will be seen as a bad sign by our people. And if he succeeds, the Emperor replied, it will show that the bonds between species can be stronger than anyone imagined. Jake lay down on the crystal platform. Immediately, he felt a strange tingling sensation all through his body. The crystal seemed to be alive, responding to his presence. The first phase will change your body, Velshar explained. Your bones will become partially crystalline, allowing you to survive in our environment. Your muscles and organs will be strengthened. This part is usually not too painful. Usually? Jake asked. Every being experiences it differently, Lisa said, checking her medical scanners. We're monitoring everything. If something goes wrong, we can stop the process. The machines around the platform began to glow. Jake felt warmth spreading through his body, starting from the crystal beneath him. It was not unpleasant at first, like lying in warm sunshine. Then the real changes began. Jake felt his bones changing, becoming harder and lighter at the same time. His muscles grew stronger. His heart began beating in a new rhythm that seemed to match the humming of the crystal chamber. Phase 1 complete, Velshar announced. His body has accepted the changes. Now comes the difficult part. The mental fusion, Lisa said, watching her instruments carefully. This is where the other attempts failed. Jake felt something touching his mind. It was alien and strange, but not frightening. It was like hearing a new kind of music for the first time. I can sense Zephyrian thoughts, Jake said, amazed. I can feel all of you in my mind. Good, Velshar said. Now the harmony must be established. Your human consciousness must learn to work with Zephyrian mental patterns. Suddenly, Jake screamed. Pain shot through his mind like lightning. He felt like his thoughts were being pulled apart and put back together in the wrong order. Something's wrong, Lisa said, her voice full of worry. His brain activity is going crazy. It is the clash between human and Zephyrian thinking, Velshar explained. Humans think as individuals. We think as part of a greater harmony. His mind is fighting the change. Jake felt like he was drowning in alien thoughts. He could sense the minds of every Zephyrian in the palace, but he couldn't control which thoughts were his and which belonged to others. He was losing himself. Stop the process, the Emperor commanded. We cannot let him die. No, Jake gasped. Don't stop. I can do this. Jake, your vital signs are critical, Lisa said. You need to let us stop this. But Princess Ariatel stepped forward. There is another way, she said. I can enter the harmony chamber with him. If we share the process, it might work. Absolutely not, the Emperor said. I will not risk my daughter's life. Father, if this fails, the Void Swarm will destroy us all anyway, Ariatel replied. Let me try to help him. Before anyone could stop her, Princess Ariatel climbed onto the crystal platform beside Jake. Immediately, the chamber's energy changed. Jake felt Ariatel's mind touching his. Her thoughts were like cool water on burning skin. She helped him understand how to blend human individuality with Zephyrian harmony without losing either one. Together, they rode out the mental storm. Jake learned to keep his human identity while opening his mind to the greater connections that Zephyrians lived with every day. Ariatel experienced human emotions in their full intensity for the first time, feeling what it was like to be a single, separate consciousness. It's working, Lisa said, amazement in her voice. Their brain patterns are synchronizing, but they're both maintaining their individual identities. The pain slowly faded. Jake felt different but still himself. He could sense Ariatel's thoughts and emotions, and she could sense his, but they were still two separate people who had chosen to share their minds. The harmony is complete, Velshar announced. Captain Morrison has survived the trial of harmony. The unity bonding is now possible. Jake sat up slowly. His body felt strange, but powerful. His senses were sharper than they had ever been. He could hear the thoughts of everyone in the chamber, like whispered conversations. How do you feel? Princess Ariatel asked, her hand touching his. Different, Jake said honestly. But still me. I can sense your emotions, your thoughts. It's incredible. The Emperor stepped forward, his crystal skin glowing with amazement. In all our history, no one has ever shared the trial of harmony as you two just did. You have created something new. General Kethril looked angry and confused. This changes nothing. He is still human even if he has been altered. No, the Emperor said firmly. He is now both human and Zephyrian. He is the first of his kind, and through him our peoples are bound together. Jake stood up, feeling the new strength in his body. He was still human in all the ways that mattered, but now he could understand the Zephyrians in a way no human ever had before. What happens now, he asked. Princess Ariatel smiled, her crystal skin glowing with joy. Now we plan our wedding. The unity bonding ceremony will make our alliance official and binding. As they left the sacred synthesis chamber together, Jake could feel the thoughts and emotions of people all over the planet. The Zephyrians were amazed and excited by what had happened, but he could also sense darker thoughts from some, like General Kethral. Not everyone was happy about the coming unity bonding. Some saw it as contamination of their pure bloodline. Others saw it as hope for a better future. Jake realized that surviving the trial of harmony had been just the beginning. The real test would be keeping both their peoples united when the Void Swarm finally arrived. The unity bonding ceremony was planned for 7 days after Jake survived the trial of harmony. The entire galaxy seemed to be watching. News of the first human Zephyrian marriage had spread to every civilized world. Jake stood in his quarters, aboard the New Horizons, looking at himself in the mirror. He looked mostly human still, but there were changes. His eyes had flecks of crystal in them that caught the light. His skin had a faint glow. He was stronger and faster than he had ever been. "How are you feeling?" Dr. Lisa Chen asked as she ran her final medical scans. "Like I'm about to marry the most amazing woman in the galaxy," Jake replied with a smile. "I mean physically," Lisa said, but she was smiling too. "Any problems with the changes to your body?" "None. I feel better than I ever have. I can sense things I never could before. I can hear the thoughts of the Zephyrians when they're nearby. It's like having a new sense." Ambassador Rodriguez entered the room. She had been working day and night to coordinate the political aspects of the wedding. "Jake, we're getting reports. From all over human space, people are calling you a hero. They say you're proving that humans can succeed anywhere with anyone." "I hope they're right," Jake said, "because this is just the beginning. Once Ariatel and I are married, we'll have to figure out how to actually fight the Void Swarm." On the planet below, Princess Ariatel was having her own preparations. Zephyrian wedding traditions were different from human ones. She stood in a chamber filled with her female relatives, all of them glowing with different colors of crystal light. "Are you certain about this choice, daughter?" asked her aunt, Lady Silthera. "Once the unity bonding is complete, you will be connected to this human for life. Even death will not completely separate you." "I am certain," Ariatel replied, her skin glowing with silver confidence. "Jake Morrison is not just brave and kind. He represents something new for both our species. Through our bond, humans and Zephyrians can become stronger together." But not everyone was celebrating. In the military command center, General Kethral met secretly with several other high-ranking Zephyrians who opposed the unity bonding. "This contamination of our bloodline cannot be allowed," the general said, his crystal skin dark red with anger. "The Emperor has been fooled by his daughter's emotions." Commander Dexmore, leader of the Palace Guard, nodded agreement. "Our people have remained pure for thousands of years. Now we are to mix our essence with primitive humans?" "I have a plan," General Kethral said quietly. "During the ceremony tomorrow, when all attention is focused on the wedding, my forces will take control of the palace. We will remove the Emperor and Princess from power." "And the human?" asked another conspirator. "He will be returned to his people along with the others. We will tell the humans that the alliance was a mistake. We Zephyrians will face the Void Swarm alone, as we should." What General Kethral did not know was that far away on Earth, another group was making similar plans. Colonel Pete Barnes commanded a special operations unit that had been sent to monitor the diplomatic mission. "This unity bonding is an abomination," Colonel Barnes said to his team. "Captain Morrison has been contaminated by alien technology. He's no longer fully human." Sergeant Amy Wells, his second in command, looked uncomfortable. "Sir, our orders were to support the diplomatic mission, not interfere with it." "Our orders were written before anyone knew Morrison would be altered by alien science," Barnes replied. "I have new orders from certain people in Earth Command. We are to extract Morrison and the other humans before they become even more contaminated." What neither group of conspirators knew was that their secret communications had been intercepted. The Void Swarm had advanced scouts in this region of space, and they had been listening to radio transmissions for months. The Void Swarm was not just a mindless destroyer. It was intelligent, and it had learned that the best way to defeat civilizations was to turn them against themselves before attacking. The morning of the Unity bonding ceremony, the royal palace was decorated with crystal formations that sang, in harmony with each other. Representatives from dozens of worlds had come to witness the historic event. Jake wore a uniform that combined human military dress with Zephyrian ceremonial robes. The crystal threads in the fabric glowed with soft light. Princess Ariatel wore a gown that seemed to be made of liquid starlight. "You look beautiful," Jake told her as they met at the altar made of pure crystal. "You look handsome and brave," she replied. "Are you ready to become connected to me forever?" "I've been ready since the moment I met you," Jake said. The Emperor began the ceremony in the ancient Zephyrian language. The words were translated for the humans and other species watching. The crystal palace itself seemed to sing along with the vows. But as the ceremony reached its most important moment, alarms began sounding throughout the palace. General Kethral and his soldiers burst into the Great Hall. At the same time, Colonel Barnes and his team came through another entrance. Both groups were armed and ready to fight. "Stop this ceremony," General Kethral commanded. "By the authority of the true Zephyrian military, I am placing the Emperor and Princess under arrest for treason against our species." Colonel Barnes pointed his weapon at Jake. "Captain Morrison, you're coming with us. You've been compromised by alien technology and are no longer fit for command." The wedding guests panicked. Some tried to run, others prepared to fight. But Jake and Ariatel stood calmly in the center of the chaos. "I don't think so," Jake said quietly. Through their mental connection, Jake and Ariatel coordinated perfectly. Jake's enhanced human reflexes combined with Ariatel's Zephyrian ability to predict movement made them incredibly dangerous. Jake moved faster than any human should have been able to move. He disarmed 2 of Colonel Barnes's soldiers before they could react. Ariatel used her telepathic abilities to confuse General Kethral's troops, making them see enemies where there were allies. Commander Ryan Foster and his security team had been ready for trouble. They moved to protect the wedding guests while Jake and Ariatel dealt with the immediate threats. "How did they coordinate this attack?" Ambassador Rodriguez shouted over the sound of fighting. "They didn't," Jake replied, dodging a shot from General Kethral. "Someone else is pulling the strings." Dr. Lisa Chen was scanning the area with her equipment. "Jake, I'm detecting strange energy signatures. There's something else here, something that's not human or Zephyrian." As the battle continued, the truth became clear. Hidden devices throughout the palace began broadcasting signals that made both humans and Zephyrians more aggressive and suspicious of each other. "Void swarm technology," Velshar announced, his crystal skin pale with fear. "They have been manipulating our emotions, making us fight each other." Jake and Ariatel realized what was happening. The Void Swarm had been preparing for their arrival by weakening the alliance before it could even begin. "We have to stop this now," Ariatel said, her mind linked with Jake's. Together they projected a wave of calm and clarity throughout the palace. Their unity bonding gave them power that neither could have had alone. The artificial aggression faded from everyone's minds. General Kethral blinked in confusion. What was I doing? Why was I attacking the ceremony?" Colonel Barnes lowered his weapon. "I remember getting orders, but now I'm not sure they were real orders." The Emperor, wounded but still standing, called for order. "The enemy has shown its hand. The Void Swarm has been manipulating us from the beginning, trying to prevent our alliance." Jake helped Ariatel to her feet. During the fighting, the Emperor had been badly injured trying to protect them. "Father," Ariatel said, her crystal skin dim with worry. The Emperor smiled weakly. "Finish the ceremony, daughter. Our peoples need the unity bonding now more than ever." With the Emperor's blessing, Jake and Ariatel completed their wedding vows. As they spoke the final words, light blazed from their joined hands. Every human and Zephyrian in the palace felt the connection between the two species grow stronger. "By this unity bonding," the Emperor said with his last strength, "I name Jake Morrison and Princess Ariatel as joint rulers of the Zephyrian Empire. May they lead both our peoples to victory against the darkness." As the Emperor closed his eyes, for the last time, Jake felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He was no longer just a starship captain. He was now a leader of two civilizations that would soon be fighting for their lives. Outside the palace, long-range sensors detected the first ships of the Void Swarm entering the star system. The real battle was about to begin. 6 months had passed since the Unity bonding ceremony. Jake and Princess Ariatel, now Queen Ariatel, ruled the Zephyrian Empire together from a new command ship that combined human and Zephyrian technology. The ship, called Harmony, was unlike anything either species had built before. Its hull was made of living crystal that could repair itself. Its computers used both human digital systems and Zephyrian telepathic networks. "Status report," Jake said as he entered the command center. "The Void Swarm main force will be here in 6 hours," reported Admiral Lisa Chen, who had been promoted to lead the combined scientific fleet. "Our scouts estimate at least 10,000 enemy ships." "And our forces?" Queen Ariatel asked, her crystal skin glowing with determination. 3,000 ships total," replied General Foster, now commander of all human forces in the Alliance. "We're outnumbered 3-1. Jake looked at the tactical display showing the approaching enemy. The Void Swarm ships were strange, organic-looking things that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved like living creatures rather than machines. "Any word from the other species?" Jake asked. "The Corvin Republic is sending 200 ships," Queen Ariatel reported. "The Stellar Federation promises 500 more, but they won't arrive for at least a day." Jake nodded. Over the past 6 months, their unity bonding had inspired other species to form their own alliances. The galaxy was finally working together against the common threat. "We'll have to hold them off until reinforcements arrive," Jake said. Dr. Chen approached with a worried expression. "Jake, Ariatel, I need to show you something. We've been analyzing the Void Swarm's behavior, and we think we understand what they really are." She activated a holographic display showing the structure of a Void Swarm entity. "They're not just destroyers. They're a collective consciousness that feeds on the life force of entire civilizations. But here's the strange part. They seem to be afraid of something." "Afraid?" Queen Ariatel asked. "What could such powerful beings fear?" "Unity," Dr. Chen said simply. "Every civilization they've attacked has been divided, fighting among themselves. They've never faced species that were truly united." Jake felt a strange sensation through his connection to Ariatel. It was like a whisper at the edge of his mind. "They're trying to get into our heads," he said. "I feel it too," Queen Ariatel replied. "They're attempting to influence our emotions, make us doubt each other. That's how they weaken their prey," Dr. Chen explained. "They project fear and suspicion, causing civilizations to destroy themselves." "But it's not working on us," Jake realized. "The unity bonding is protecting our minds." Queen Ariatel smiled, her crystal skin glowing with silver light. "We are truly united. They cannot turn us against each other." The first Void Swarm ships entered the outer edge of the star system. They moved in perfect formation like drops of liquid darkness spreading across space. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," Jake broadcast to the combined fleet. "Remember what we've learned. The enemy uses fear and division as weapons. Stay connected to your wingmen. Trust your allies. We are stronger together than they can understand." The battle began as soon as the fleets came within weapons range. The Void Swarm ships fired beams of pure darkness that seemed to drain energy from anything they touched. But the combined human Zephyrian ships had shields that could absorb and redirect that dark energy. "Their tactics are predictable," Queen Ariatel observed from the Harmony's command center. "They expect us to panic and scatter. Then let's show them something they've never seen before," Jake said. Through their mental connection, Jake and Queen Ariatel coordinated the entire fleet as if it were a single organism. Human creativity and unpredictability combined with Zephyrian harmony and precision created battle tactics the Void Swarm had never encountered. Ships that should have been destroyed instead worked together to redirect attacks back at the enemy. Damaged vessels were protected by their allies while they repaired themselves using Zephyrian crystal technology. "They're confused," General Foster reported with excitement. "The enemy ships are starting to break formation." But the Void Swarm, adapted quickly. The largest enemy ship, a creature the size of a moon, began broadcasting a signal that made every person in the Allied fleet feel overwhelming despair. I can't think straight, Admiral Chen said, holding her head in her hands. It's affecting everyone, General Foster reported. Morale is collapsing across the fleet. Jake felt the despair trying to creep into his mind, but his connection to Queen Ariatel kept it at bay. Together, they were stronger than the enemy's psychological attacks. We need to destroy that command ship, Jake said. But it's protected by thousands of smaller vessels, Queen Ariatel replied. A direct attack would be suicide. Dr. Chen looked up from her instruments, her face pale but determined. I have an idea. What if we could project unity instead of just defending against their despair? What do you mean? Jake asked. Your unity bonding creates a field of mental harmony around you. If we could amplify that signal and broadcast it through the quantum communication network, we might be able to counter their despair weapon. Queen. Ariatel's crystal skin flickered with different colors as she considered the idea. It would require us to open our minds completely, to every ship in the fleet. The strain might destroy us. But if it works, Jake said, it could save both our civilizations. They looked at each other through the command center of the Harmony. In that moment, Jake saw not just his wife and partner, but the hope of two species united in love and common purpose. Let's do it, they said together. Jake and Queen Ariatel joined hands and opened their minds to the vast network of ships around them. Through the quantum communicators, they projected their unity to every human, Zephyrian, and allied vessel in the fleet. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Every person in the Allied fleet felt the connection between Jake and Queen Ariatel. They experienced the love, trust, and mutual respect that had brought two different species together. The despair weapon of the Void Swarm was overwhelmed by this wave of unity. Instead of feeling hopeless and alone, every fighter in the fleet felt connected to something larger than themselves. It's working, Dr. Chen announced, her voice filled with wonder. The enemy's psychological weapon is failing, but the strain on Jake and Queen Ariatel was enormous. Jake felt like his mind was being stretched across thousands of ships. Queen Ariatel's crystal skin was flickering wildly as she fought to maintain the connection. We can't keep this up much longer, Queen Ariatel said through gritted teeth. We don't have to, Jake replied, sensing something changing in the enemy fleet. The Void Swarm ships were beginning to act strangely. Instead of working together in their usual perfect coordination, they were becoming confused and erratic. I don't think they understand what they're feeling, Dr. Chen observed. They've never encountered genuine unity before. It's disrupting their collective consciousness. The largest Void Swarm ship, the one that had been broadcasting despair, suddenly stopped moving. Its dark surface began to crack, showing glimpses of light from within. The unity signal is breaking apart their collective mind, Jake realized. They can't handle experiencing what real cooperation feels like. One by one, the Void Swarm ships began to break apart. The consciousness that had held them together for millions of years was fragmenting under the influence of true unity. But the effort was destroying Jake and Queen Ariatel. Jake could feel his human identity dissolving into the vast network of minds. Queen Ariatel was losing herself in the collective consciousness of the fleet. We have to let go, Queen Ariatel said weakly. If we don't stop now, we'll lose ourselves forever. Not yet, Jake replied. We can finish this. Together, they made one final push, projecting their unity across the entire star system. The remaining Void Swarm ships exploded in flashes of light as their collective consciousness completely collapsed. Then Jake and Queen Ariatel collapsed as well, their minds finally overwhelmed by the effort of connecting to so many others. Jake woke up 3 days later in the medical bay of the Harmony. Queen Ariatel was lying in the bed next to him, her crystal skin dim but slowly beginning to glow again. Are we alive? Jake asked weakly. Yes, Dr. Chen said with a smile. And so is everyone else. The Void Swarm is gone. Their collective consciousness was completely destroyed by exposure to genuine unity. What about us? Queen Ariatel asked. Are we still connected? Jake reached out with his mind and immediately felt his wife's thoughts and emotions. They were still bonded, but now their connection felt deeper and stronger than ever. "We're still us," Jake said with relief. "But we're also something more." Over the following weeks, as the combined fleets returned home, Jake and Queen Ariatel discovered that their unity bonding had changed again. They could exist as separate individuals, but they could also join their consciousness completely when needed. More importantly, their example had inspired dozens of other species to form their own unity bondings. The galaxy was becoming truly united for the first time in its history. 5 years later, Jake stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, the new capital of the Galactic Alliance. Queen Ariatel joined him, carrying their daughter, a beautiful child with her mother's crystal skin and her father's human eyes. "What?